Hello friend, welcome back. I am so very glad that you have found your way here tonight. I know that the day may have been long. I know that the modern world outside your door is often so terribly loud, so rushed, and so endlessly demanding of your attention. But right now, in this exact moment, you have absolutely nowhere else to be. There is nothing left for you to accomplish today. The sun has set, the world has quieted, and the heavy mantle of the evening has wrapped itself around your home. You are safe here. You are completely protected from the rushing tide of the day. All that is required of you now is simply to rest. Take a moment to truly feel the space around you. Notice the quiet harbour of your bed. Feel the solid, unwavering support of the mattress beneath you, holding your weight without any effort. You do not need to hold yourself up anymore. You can simply let go. Allow your body to sink down, just a fraction of an inch deeper into the soft, welcoming comfort of your mattress. Feel the heavy, reassuring weight of the blankets draped over you, a familiar shield against the cool night air. Let that warmth soak into your skin, starting from the tips of your toes, slowly travelling up through your calves, soothing your tired knees, and melting into your thighs. Let the warmth gather in the centre of your chest, a gentle, glowing ember of pure comfort. Let us take a slow, deep breath together, just to signal to your mind that the work of the day is truly done. Draw the air in slowly through your nose, feeling the cool, quiet breath fill your lungs. Feel your chest rise smoothly, steadily, making space for the peace of the evening. Hold that breath for just a single heartbeat of stillness at the very top, and now release it. Let it wash out of you with a long, slow sigh. As the air leaves your body, imagine all the tightly wound threads of the day unraveling, drifting away like fine dust on a gentle breeze. Let us do that once more, even slower this time. Breathe in deeply, gathering up any lingering tension in your shoulders, any quiet worries hiding in the corners of your mind. Hold it softly and exhale. Let the breath carry it all away, leaving behind only an expansive, beautifully empty quiet. Now, I want you to bring your attention to the very top of your head. Imagine a soft, warm light resting there, a deeply soothing energy that moves slowly and deliberately down your body. Feel it wash over your forehead, smoothing away any lines of worry or concentration. Let it pool gently around your eyes. Your eyes have worked so hard today, taking in 1,000 flashing lights, 1,000,000 fast-moving images. Give them permission to rest now. Let your eyelids become incredibly heavy, as soft and thick as velvet. Allow them to close completely, shutting out the bright artificial glare of the modern world. Feel that warm, heavy relaxation drift down into your jaw. We carry so much unseen tension in our jaw. Consciously let it go. Create a tiny space between your teeth. Let your tongue rest softly against the bottom of your mouth. Feel your shoulders drop, releasing the invisible burdens they have been carrying. Let your arms become heavy, sinking deeply into the mattress beside you. Let your hands gently unclench. Your fingers no longer need to type, or grip, or hold on to anything at all. They can simply rest, lightly curled, completely at peace. Let this deep, heavy relaxation flow all the way down your spine, through your legs, right down to the soles of your feet. You are entirely loose. You are entirely heavy. You are perfectly safe. As you lie here, floating in this cocoon of safety, I invite you to leave the modern world completely behind. The modern age is so full of harsh angles, glaring screens, and sudden noises. But we are going to walk away from all of that tonight. In your mind's eye, let the walls of your room begin to soften. Let the sharp edges of the present moment blur and fade into a gentle, misty shadow. The distant hum of modern traffic, the faint glow of streetlights, the endless ticking of the present-day clock. Let all of it gently dissolve into nothingness. You are slipping beneath the surface of the present, diving down into the deep, quiet waters of the past. We are traveling backward, moving slowly, steadily away from the rush of today, drifting back through the decades. The years fall away like autumn leaves caught in a slow-moving stream. We drift past the turn of the century, past the modern era, settling softly, gently, into the deep, quiet winter of 1924. The air around you begins to change. The atmosphere grows incredibly thick, peaceful, and wonderfully still. The first thing you become aware of is a sound. It is not a sudden sound, but a deep, rhythmic, continuous heartbeat that seems to echo from the very foundation of the world. It is a slow, steady rumbling, a heavy iron pulse. Thrum, thrum, thrum. It is the magnificent, unending rhythm of a massive steam engine, carving its way through a snowy wilderness in the dead of winter. You feel the sound before you truly hear it. It translates into a soft, steady vibration that travels up through the floorboards beneath you. It is a deeply soothing sensation, a constant physical reminder that you are moving forward, securely carried by something infinitely stronger than yourself. You find yourself standing inside a private sleeping compartment of a luxurious Pullman train. It is late into the evening. The rest of the train has long since settled into slumber. The corridors are empty, carpeted, and completely silent, save for the rhythmic clatter of the iron wheels on the heavy steel tracks. Click-clack, click-clack. The sound is muffled, insulated by thick walls and heavy doors, reduced to a gentle, hypnotic lullaby that washes over the cabin in endless, sweeping waves. The compartment is a tiny, perfectly self-contained sanctuary. It is a masterpiece of early 20th century craftsmanship, a warm, glowing jewel box travelling through the frozen night. Open your eyes in your imagination and look around this beautiful, sheltered space. The walls are panelled from floor to ceiling in rich, old-growth mahogany. The wood is so dark it almost looks like molasses in the low light, polished by hand until it possesses a deep, mirrored sheen. The grain of the mahogany ripples and waves, telling the slow, ancient story of the tree it once was. As the train sways gently on the tracks, the faint, golden light in the room catches the polished wood, creating slow, liquid reflections that glide across the walls like honey. There is a profound sense of solidity in this wood. It feels permanent, protective, standing strong against the cold, rushing wind outside. The light in the compartment is beautifully dim, casting a warm, amber glow that makes the space feel incredibly intimate and secure. The source of this light is a single, elegant brass wall sconce mounted delicately beside the wide window. The brass has naturally aged over the years, taking on a soft, burnished patina. It is not the harsh, blinding light of the modern era, but a soft, glowing filament inside a frosted glass shade, shaped like an inverted tulip. The light it casts is gentle, forgiving, and deeply relaxing. It leaves the corners of the small cabin draped in thick, velvety shadows, creating a perfect atmosphere for sleep. Beneath the light, the window stretches across the wall, offering a portal into the winter night. But the window is mostly covered. Heavy, deeply pleated velvet curtains, the colour of crushed dark cherries, are drawn almost entirely shut. They are thick enough to block the chill of the glass and heavy enough to absorb the sounds of the journey. The texture of the velvet is incredibly plush, swallowing the light and adding a profound sense of weight and warmth to the room. The curtains have been left open just an inch or two in the centre, allowing you a sliver of a view into the world outside. The contrast between the inside of your cabin and the outside world is staggering, and it makes your sanctuary feel all the more precious. Outside, it is a vast frozen expanse. A heavy, silent snow is falling across an empty, moonlit valley. You can see the dark, towering silhouettes of pine trees rushing past, heavily laden with fresh, white snow. The moon hangs high and bright in the clear winter sky, casting a silver, ethereal light across the untouched drifts. If you were to press the very tip of your finger against the cold glass of that window, you would feel the sharp, biting chill of the winter air radiating through the pane. But you are not out there. You are inside. You are entirely safe, entirely warm, and perfectly insulated from the elements. The compartment is kept wonderfully warm by a series of hidden steam pipes, radiating a gentle, dry heat that fills the small room from the floor upward. Breathe in the scent of this space. It is a deeply complex, incredibly comforting aroma. The dominant scent is the polished mahogany, rich, slightly sweet, and heavily earthen. Layered beneath that is the faint, metallic tang of the brass polish and the clean, crisp scent of freshly laundered, starched cotton linens waiting on the berth. Woven through it all is the distinct, nostalgic signature of the steam train itself, a very faint hint of coal smoke from the engine far ahead, purified by the rushing winter air and the clean, warm smell of pressurized steam. It is a fragrance that speaks of long journeys, of safety, and of quiet, solitary travel. You stand perfectly still in the center of the small compartment, simply allowing the environment to wash over you. The floor beneath your feet is covered in a thick woolen carpet, patterned with intricate, dark floral designs that blur into the shadows. The carpet absorbs your footsteps, adding to the hushed, deeply insulated feeling of the room. Every surface, every texture in this space has been designed for comfort and quiet. Notice the gentle, cradle-like sway of the train car. It is a slow, rhythmic rocking motion, side to side, ever so slightly shifting with the subtle curves of the long steel tracks. It is a motion that your body instinctively recognizes and welcomes. It is the feeling of being rocked, of being carried, of surrendering control to the journey. You do not need to steer. You do not need to navigate. The heavy iron engine far ahead is doing all the work, pulling you steadily through the dark, snowy night. You are simply a passenger, suspended in time and space, moving gracefully through the world while remaining perfectly, entirely still. As you stand in the amber light, listening to the muffled click-clack of the wheels and feeling the deep, resonant vibration in your chest, you realize that there is no hurry here. In this era, travel is not about rushing to a destination. It is about the journey itself. It is about the slow passage of time. There are no instant messages, no ringing telephones, no urgent demands waiting for you. You are entirely disconnected from the world outside. You exist only in this warm, wooden room, surrounded by velvet and brass, floating through a silver, snow-covered landscape. The deep quiet of the compartment settles into your bones. The gentle heat radiating from the steam pipes thaws the very last remnants of cold from your extremities. The soft, golden light from the tulip sconce seems to embrace you, wrapping you in a blanket of absolute security. The door to the corridor is thick, heavy solid wood, and the heavy brass bolt has been firmly slid into place with a satisfying metallic click. No one will disturb you here. No one will ask anything of you. The night belongs entirely to you. The train leans slightly as it takes a long, slow curve around the base of a silent mountain. You feel your body sway gently in response, a perfectly natural, effortless movement. The rumble of the tracks deepens for a moment as the train crosses a heavy timber bridge, the sound echoing briefly over a frozen river far below, before returning to its soft, steady rhythm as it meets the snow-covered earth once more. Thrum, thrum, thrum. You take another slow, deep breath, pulling the warm, wood-scented air into your lungs. The tension in your shoulders, which you thought was completely gone, drops away even further. Your mind, which had been racing just a short time ago, slows its pace, matching the steady, unrelenting rhythm of the heavy iron wheels. The world has narrowed down to this one perfect, isolated moment. The warmth of the room, the smell of the mahogany, the amber light, the endless, beautiful snow falling silently in the dark. You are here. You have arrived in this quiet sanctuary of the past. The journey has just begun, and there is all the time in the world. As the steam engine lets out a long, low, mournful whistle that echoes beautifully across the empty winter valley, you feel a profound sense of peace wash over your entirely relaxed body. You are safe, you are warm, and you are exactly where you are meant to be. That long, low, mournful whistle slowly fades into the deep winter night, absorbed entirely by the endless blanket of snow that covers the passing world. As the lingering echo dissolves into the freezing air outside, the silence of your private compartment returns to its perfect, comforting bass line. The deep, rhythmic thrumming of the heavy iron wheels against the steel tracks resumes its rightful place as the heartbeat of your journey. Click-clack, click-clack. It is a sound so steady, so profoundly reliable, that your mind no longer registers it as noise. Instead, it has become a living, breathing part of the atmosphere, a constant, mechanical lullaby that tells you, over and over again, that you are moving forward, that you are safe, and that all the heavy lifting of the journey is being handled by the magnificent steam engine far ahead of you. You are completely free of responsibility. You are simply a passenger in the truest sense of the word, suspended in time, floating in a warm, amber-lit sanctuary, while the vast frozen world glides silently past. As you stand in the center of the small, beautifully appointed room, you become deeply aware of the physical sensation of the journey. The train car does not simply move forward, it possesses a subtle, complex motion all its own. It is a gentle, cradle-like sway, a slow, side-to-side rocking that responds to the subtle curves and grades of the ancient railway line. Your body intuitively understands this motion. Without you even having to think about it, your knees soften ever so slightly, your weight shifting naturally from the heel of one foot to the other, absorbing the gentle sway of the floorboards beneath you. It is incredibly soothing, this feeling of being rocked. It brings to mind the deepest, earliest memories of comfort, of being held and carried. The train leans slightly as it navigates a long, sweeping bend along the edge of a snowy mountain pass, and you lean with it, perfectly in sync with the massive, rolling weight of the carriages. There is no resistance here. You simply allow the train to move you, surrendering completely to the slow, heavy rhythm of the night. Take a moment to truly explore the incredible space that surrounds you. Let your gaze drift away from the window and begin to trace the interior of your private Pullman compartment. This is not merely a room. It is a masterpiece of turn-of-the-century craftsmanship, built in an era when things were made slowly, deliberately, and meant to last for generations. The walls, from the thick baseboards all the way up to the elegantly curved ceiling, are panelled entirely in solid, old-growth mahogany. This is not the thin, hollow, manufactured material of the modern age. This is incredibly dense, ancient timber, harvested decades ago and shaped by the patient, repetitive labour of master carpenters. The wood has been stained and varnished to a deep, mesmerising darkness, a colour that sits somewhere between strong black coffee and rich, dark molasses. Yet, despite its dark hue, the mahogany holds an incredible, radiating warmth. The surface of the wood has been polished countless times over the years, layer upon layer of natural oil and wax buffed entirely by hand until the panelling possesses a smooth, mirrored finish. As the train sways gently on the tracks, the soft, golden light from the single wall sconce dances across the wood, creating slow, liquid pools of illumination that glide back and forth with the rhythm of the journey. It looks like heavy, golden honey sliding across the walls. If you look very closely, allowing your eyes to focus on the intricate details of the wood illuminated in that amber light, you can see the grain of the mahogany. It is a beautifully complex map of the tree's long life. The lines undulate and flow, tightly packed together in some places, widely spaced in others, creating ribbons of lighter, warmer brown that intertwine perfectly with the deepest velvety shadows. It is a hypnotic, deeply calming pattern. If you were to step forward and place the flat of your palm against the paneling, you would find it wonderfully smooth. It might feel cool to the touch for just a fraction of a second, but it would quickly warm beneath the heat of your skin. And beneath your hand, traveling right through that heavy timber, you would feel the subtle, continuous vibration of the train itself, a soft, buzzing energy connecting you directly to the powerful engine miles down the track. The craftsmanship extends to every single detail in the room. The wooden panels are secured by heavy, solid brass fittings. The hinges of the heavy wooden door that separates you from the empty corridor, the thick sliding bolt that ensures your absolute privacy, the subtle handles of the built-in cabinetry. All of them are cast from solid brass that has aged beautifully over the years. It has lost the harsh, bright shine of new metal and has instead developed a soft, burnished patina, a muted golden glow that absorbs the light rather than reflecting it sharply back. These brass details anchor the room, adding a profound sense of weight and permanence to your moving sanctuary. The primary source of light in the compartment is an elegant brass wall sconce, mounted securely on the mahogany paneling right beside the window. It is a beautiful object, designed with the graceful, curving lines characteristic of the 1920s. The sconce holds a single, frosted glass shade, shaped delicate like an inverted tulip. Inside the glass, a low-wattage filament bulb burns with a steady, unwavering warmth. Because the glass is frosted, the light it casts is wonderfully diffuse and forgiving. There is no glare, no harsh brightness to strain your tired eyes. It bathes the small cabin in a rich amber hue, making the mahogany glow and leaving the corners of the room draped in thick, heavy, velvety shadows. It is the perfect quality of light for the late evening, a light that signals to your mind that the day is entirely over and the time for deep rest is approaching. It is a light that makes you want to speak only in whispers, even though there is no one else here to listen. Move your gaze slowly down the wall, away from the warmth of the sconces, until you find the magnificent fabric that frames the window. Hanging on a heavy brass rail are two lengths of the most extraordinary, deeply pleated velvet. It is a fabric so incredibly thick and dense that it seems to possess a gravity all its own. The colour is a deep, bruised cherry, a burgundy so profoundly dark that in the unlit corners of the compartment, the velvet appears almost entirely black. But where the soft amber light grazes the edges of the heavy folds, the fabric ignites with a rich, glowing crimson fire. The velvet has been gathered into deep vertical pleats, creating long, dramatic shadows that run from the top of the window all the way down to the thick hem that lightly brushes the carpeted floor. Because of its sheer weight and density, the fabric barely registers the constant, side-to-side swaying of the train car. It hangs in perfect, unwavering stillness, a silent, imposing guardian against the bitter cold of the night air outside. If you were to reach out, moving slowly through the quiet room, and brush the back of your hand against the drape, you would feel the dense, plush pile of the velvet. It is incredibly soft, yet wonderfully substantial, offering a slight, deeply satisfying resistance against your skin. It is the kind of heavy, luxurious fabric that absorbs the sharp sounds of the world, swallowing the metallic clatter of the iron tracks and the rushing wind outside, transforming the noise of the journey into a soft, distant heartbeat that pulses gently through the room. The curtains insulate you. They wrap the compartment in a layer of profound quiet. The curtains have been drawn almost entirely shut, likely by the porter who prepared the room before you boarded. But they have been left open just an inch or two in the very centre, offering you a narrow, floor-to-ceiling sliver of a view into the passing world. The contrast between the immense isolated sanctuary of your compartment and the vast, untamed reality of the world outside that pane of glass is staggering, and it only serves to deepen the immense feeling of comfort and safety within these walls. The window itself is a thick, heavy pane of reinforced glass, set incredibly firmly into a polished brass and rubber frame that has been perfectly sealed against the elements. Yet, the winter night is a powerful, relentless force, and it makes its presence softly known at the very edges of the glass. If you step just a little closer, your footsteps completely silenced by the thick woolen carpet beneath your feet, you can observe the intricate artwork the cold has left behind. At the very corners of the window pane, where the warm, dry air of your cabin meets the freezing boundary of the outside world, delicate, intricate formations of frost have begun to bloom. They look like tiny, crystalline ferns, sprawling outward in fragile, silvery, overlapping patterns. They are perfectly still, frozen in absolute time, glittering faintly as they catch the ambient light of the wall sconce. If you were to bring your hand close to the glass, hovering just an inch away without ever actually touching the pane, you would feel a distinct, heavy curtain of cold radiating inward from the surface. It is a sharp, crisp, icy chill that bites gently at your knuckles, a stark, physical reminder of the brutal temperature outside. But the very moment you pull your hand back, pulling it just an inch or two further into the room, that chill is immediately swallowed and entirely erased by the enveloping, absolute warmth of the cabin. You are so incredibly close to the bitter, freezing winter, separated by only a fraction of an inch of glass, yet you are entirely untouched by it. You are perfectly insulated, cocooned tightly in a pocket of warm, glowing, beautifully scented air. And then there is the view itself. Through that narrow, vertical gap in the heavy velvet curtains, the winter night reveals itself in endless, sweeping, silent majesty. The steam train is moving at a steady, unhurried, majestic pace, gliding smoothly through a landscape that appears entirely untouched by human hands. The sky above is completely clear, a vast, sweeping, infinite canopy of deep, midnight blue, scattered with the faint, glittering dust of a million distant, frozen stars. But it is the moon that truly commands the night. It is perfectly full and brilliantly bright, a massive sphere of silver light suspended high and cold in the freezing atmosphere. Its light pours down over the world in heavy waves, illuminating the earth beneath with a soft, ethereal, pale glow that turns the darkest hours of the night into a silent, shadowless day. The ground outside is covered in a massive, unbroken blanket of fresh, deep snow. It rolls away from the raised elevation of the train tracks in soft, undulating drifts, rising and falling gracefully, like the gentle waves of a frozen white ocean. The snow is so incredibly pure, so perfectly untouched and white, that it seems to capture and reflect the bright moonlight straight back into the sky, creating a strange, beautiful, luminous glow that hangs just inches above the surface of the earth. As the train curves slowly along the steep edge of a deep, unseen valley, the landscape gradually begins to shift. Towering, massive silhouettes of ancient pine trees begin to rise up alongside the tracks, their shapes dark and imposing against the pale snow. Their massive, heavy branches are laden with fresh powder, drooping slightly, bowing under the immense, accumulated weight of the deep winter. They stand incredibly close to the tracks, like silent, dark, ancient sentinels, watching the long, glowing train pass by. As the warm, amber light from your compartment window sweeps briefly across them, the snow resting on their needles sparkles brilliantly, like crushed diamonds, for just a fraction of a second, before fading back into the deep, quiet shadows of the dense forest. The steam train is the absolute only moving thing in this entire, vast expanse of wilderness. It is a solitary, glowing line of warmth, light and life, carving a singular, unstoppable path through an endless, frozen world of white and silver. The sheer, terrifying isolation of the landscape is awe-inspiring, but standing here, in this room, it does not bring even the slightest hint of fear or loneliness. Instead, it brings a profound, overwhelming sense of peace. The world out there is completely still. It is completely asleep, locked tight in the deep, unyielding freeze of midwinter. Nothing is happening out there. Nothing is changing. The demands, the loud noises, the frantic pacing, and the endless anxieties of the modern world simply do not exist in that frozen forest. There is only the deep snow, the ancient trees, the bright moonlight, and the steady, rhythmic, comforting heartbeat of your train, carrying you safely and securely through the dark. As you stand by the window, watching the silent, silver world glide endlessly past, you become acutely aware of the source of the wonderful, comforting warmth that so perfectly fills your compartment. Running horizontally along the very bottom of the wall, set just above the heavy carpeted floorboards, is a thick, substantial cast iron pipe. It is a crucial part of the train's elaborate, brilliant steam heating system, constantly drawing boiling, highly pressurized steam all the way back from the mighty engine at the very front of the line, distributing its heat evenly through every single carriage. The heavy iron pipe is painted a deep, unobtrusive brown to blend seamlessly with the mahogany woodwork, but its presence is deeply, wonderfully felt. It radiates a heavy, incredibly dry, and deeply soothing heat that rises steadily and continuously, filling the small space from the floor upward. Every so often, as the pressure subtly changes, the iron pipe lets out a very faint, deeply comforting sound. It is a soft, rhythmic ticking of expanding metal, followed immediately by a barely audible, muffled sigh as the hot, invisible steam rushes smoothly through the iron. It is the sound of pure warmth being constantly delivered, a quiet, mechanical reassurance that the bitter cold outside will always be kept firmly at bay. The heat that rises from this steam pipe is entirely different from the harsh, blown heat of a modern electric vent. It feels incredibly substantial. It feels earned. It pools around your ankles, soaking deeply into the thick wool of your clothes, and slowly, gently travels up your legs, thawing any remaining tension in your tired muscles. The perfect combination of the deep, biting cold radiating from the glass window and the heavy, dry, comforting warmth rising from the iron pipe creates a state of perfect, harmonious balance within the small room. You exist directly in the exact center of this wonderful balance, resting in a state of absolute thermal equilibrium. It is a sensation of pure, unbroken physical comfort, the exact kind of deep comfort that makes your eyelids begin to feel incredibly heavy and your limbs feel blissfully, wonderfully weak. The air you breathe in is warm, and it carries that distinct, beautifully nostalgic blend of polished mahogany, old brass, and the faint, clean, completely comforting scent of the dry steam heat. It is an atmosphere that has been designed entirely, from floor to ceiling, for the sole purpose of rest. Look finely down at the floor beneath your feet. The compartment is carpeted in a thick, heavy, incredibly dense wool. The background of the carpet is a deep, rich navy blue, almost black in the low amber light, but it is woven with intricate, traditional floral patterns in muted tones of burgundy, dark green, and faded gold. The pattern is complex and dizzying, but because the colours are so wonderfully subdued, it simply blends into a tapestry of dark warmth that grounds the entire room. The wool pile is so thick that it completely absorbs the sound of your movements. If you were to pace from one side of the tiny cabin to the other, your footsteps would make absolutely no sound at all. The carpet acts as yet another layer of deep insulation, softening the vibration of the floorboards and deadening the noise of the iron wheels rolling over the steel tracks below. It makes the room feel softer, quieter, and infinitely safer. You take another slow, incredibly deep breath, drawing the warm, wonderfully scented air deep into your lungs. Hold it there for just a moment, letting the peace of the space settle into your blood. And then exhale with a long, slow sigh. As the breath leaves you, you feel the last stubborn remnants of the outside world, the last echoes of the long day, finally unspool and drift entirely away. There is nowhere else you need to be tonight. There is not a single task left for you to accomplish. The heavy, polished wooden door is securely bolted. The velvet curtains are drawn against the cold. The amber light is soft and welcoming. The steam heat is rising steadily around you. The magnificent train leans gently into another long, slow, sweeping curve, rocking you softly in the cradle of the carriage. The wheels continue their endless, hypnotic rhythm. Click-clack, click-clack. The journey simply continues, carrying you forward through the quiet, frozen night, holding you perfectly safe, perfectly warm, and entirely at peace. As you stand perfectly still in the warm amber glow of your private compartment, feeling the rhythmic, comforting sway of the heavy train beneath your feet, a slow, gentle realization washes over you. It is time to prepare for rest. The entire evening has been gently leading you toward this single, deeply peaceful purpose. The journey itself is taking care of the miles, carrying you safely through the frozen wilderness, leaving you with absolutely nothing else to do but engage in the slow, methodical, deeply calming routine of unpacking for the night. You turn your gaze away from the narrow sliver of the winter night visible through the velvet curtains. Slowly, deliberately, you reach out and grasp the thick plush edge of the deeply pleated fabric. With a soft, smooth motion, you pull the curtain completely shut. The heavy velvet glides effortlessly along the brass rail, making a hushed, sweeping sound that instantly seals the cabin off from the cold, silver light of the moon outside. The room immediately feels even more intimate, even more secure. The amber light from the tulip sconce deepens, pooling beautifully on the polished mahogany walls and the thick woolen carpet. You turn slowly toward the center of the small compartment. Resting there, upon a beautifully upholstered bench situated opposite the window, is your luggage. It is a single, wonderfully worn leather valise, a faithful companion that has traveled countless miles with you over the years. You step toward it, your footsteps entirely swallowed by the deep pile of the carpet. The gentle vibration of the train, that constant, reassuring hum of the iron wheels on the steel tracks, hums steadily up through the floorboards, matching the slow, relaxed rhythm of your heartbeat. You stand before the bench and look down at the valise. It is a magnificent piece of craftsmanship, constructed from thick, incredibly durable hide that has aged to the deep, rich color of roasted chestnuts. The leather is not pristine. It bears the beautiful, subtle marks of its history. There are faint scuffs and natural variations in the grain, places where the leather has softened and darkened from years of being handled, carried, and set down in quiet rooms just like this one. It possesses a profound tactile beauty, the kind of beauty that only comes from enduring quality and the slow passage of time. You reach out, extending your hands slowly into the warm air of the cabin. You place your palms flat against the top of the valise. The leather feels wonderful beneath your fingertips. It is smooth, deeply conditioned, and possesses a subtle, natural warmth. The material offers a gentle, yielding resistance, thick and substantial. You slide your hands down to the front of the bag, where two heavy, thick leather straps secure the lid. The straps are made of stiff bridle leather, dyed a slightly darker shade of brown, and they pass through heavy, solid brass buckles. You focus entirely on the simple, deeply satisfying mechanics of opening the bag. You grip the end of the left strap between your thumb and forefinger. The leather here is thick and slightly rough along the edges. You pull it gently upward, feeling the smooth, friction-filled slide of the leather passing through the solid brass keeper. The strap makes a soft, creaking sound, a dry, rich noise that speaks of sturdy, reliable materials. You slip the small brass tongue of the buckle out of the worn hole in the leather, and the heavy strap falls away, hanging loosely down the front of the bag. You repeat this exact, deliberate process with the strap on the right side. You grip the thick leather, pull it smoothly through the brass loop, listening to that same, deeply satisfying creak. You release the brass tongue, and the second strap falls away. The slow, methodical nature of the task is incredibly grounding. There is no need to rush. There is no train to catch, for you are already safely aboard. There are no schedules to keep, for the night stretches out endlessly before you. Now, your hands move to the center of the valise, where the two primary latches are located. They are constructed of thick, heavy brass, polished by years of use, but currently holding the same soft, burnished patina as the rest of the metal in the room. They are surprisingly cool to the touch, contrasting perfectly with the warmth of the leather and the heat rising from the steam pipe near the floor. You position your thumbs over the small circular release buttons on the front of the clasps. You press down firmly, applying a slow, steady pressure. Click. The sound is utterly magnificent. It is a dull, heavy, incredibly solid, and satisfying metallic sound. It is not a sharp snap, but a deep, resonant click of an expertly crafted spring mechanism releasing its hold. The heavy brass clasp pops upward with a smooth, decisive motion. You move your hand to the second latch, pressing your thumb against the cool brass button. Click, the second spring releases, echoing perfectly in the quiet, insulated space of the compartment. The sound harmonizes beautifully with the constant, muffled clatter of the train tracks beneath you. Click-clack, click. Click-clack, click. The valise is now unlocked. You slide your hands beneath the heavy, overlapping edge of the leather lid. You lift it slowly. The thick brass hinges at the back of the bag groan ever so softly, a quiet, almost musical sigh of well-oiled metal moving after a long period of rest. As the heavy lid falls back, coming to rest against the padded back of the bench, the air inside the valise is gently released into the warm atmosphere of the cabin. You lean in slightly, breathing in the scent. It is a wonderfully nostalgic, deeply comforting fragrance. It is the rich, earthen smell of the old leather itself, mingled with the faint, clean scent of fresh paper, the natural, earthy aroma of pure wool, and drifting above it all, the distinct, soothing, powdery essence of English lavender soap. It is a scent that immediately makes your shoulders drop another fraction of an inch, a scent that whispers of home, of order, and of immaculate, quiet comfort. Inside the valise, your belongings are packed with meticulous care, wrapped in soft, unbleached cotton dust bags to protect them during the journey. You reach in, your hands moving slowly through the neatly arranged items until you find what you are looking for. Resting near the top is a thick, heavily folded, cable-knit sweater. You slide your hands beneath it, feeling the incredible texture of the wool. It is coarse, yet undeniably soft, spun from pure natural yarn that still holds a faint trace of natural lanolin. You lift it from the bag, using both hands to support its considerable weight. It is a deep, dark navy blue, a colour so profound it almost swallows the amber light of the cabin. As you lift it clear of the valise, the heavy folds of the sweater shift and settle, rustling softly against one another. The garment holds the cool temperature of the luggage, and you can feel its substantial, comforting weight hanging over your forearms. You turn slowly, your body naturally adjusting to the gentle, side-to-side sway of the train carriage as it navigates a long, sweeping curve through the frozen night. You walk the 2 short steps across the thick woolen carpet to a small, beautifully carved mahogany chair tucked neatly in the corner of the compartment. The chair is padded with the same dark cherry velvet as the window curtains. You hold the heavy wool sweater by the shoulders and give it one soft, gentle shake. The thick cables of the knit unspool gracefully, the wool falling perfectly into shape. You drape the sweater over the curved wooden backrest of the chair. You spend a long, unhurried moment simply adjusting the sleeves, ensuring they hang symmetrically, smoothing out the thick, textured wool with the flat of your palms. The fabric catches slightly against your skin, a deeply tactile, grounding sensation. The navy blue wool contrasts beautifully with the glowing, polished mahogany of the chair, casting deep, textured shadows in the low, amber light. The simple act of laying out this garment, of preparing for the chill of the morning, even while basking in the warmth of the night, is an act of supreme comfort and gentle foresight. With the sweater perfectly arranged, you turn back toward the center of the room. You reach slowly into the inner breast pocket of the heavy waistcoat you are wearing. Your fingers brush against the warm, heavy, incredibly smooth fabric of the pocket's lining before finding the solid, comforting shape of your pocket watch. You wrap your fingers around it. The metal has completely absorbed the warmth of your body, feeling like a living, glowing ember in the palm of your hand. You draw the watch slowly up and out of the pocket. Following it, sliding smoothly over the edge of the fabric, is a long, beautifully linked, solid silver chain. The chain makes a soft, liquid, metallic, slithering sound as it follows the watch, pooling elegantly in your open palm. The watch itself is a masterpiece of precision and weight. It is exceptionally heavy, a solid silver case that has been carried and polished by the friction of cloth and the touch of fingers for decades. The edges of the silver case are incredibly smooth, worn down to a perfect seamless curve that fits the palm of your hand flawlessly. You hold the watch up slightly, letting the amber light from the wall sconce reflect off the polished silver surface. It gleams softly, a warm, muted brilliance. You press down gently on the beautifully knurled, winding crown located at the very top of the watch. With a soft metallic snap, the hinged silver cover springs open, revealing the pristine face beneath. The dial is made of pure, brilliant white enamel, a flawless surface that seems to catch and hold the light. Elegant, impossibly thin black Roman numerals mark the hours, and the delicate, razor-thin black hands point quietly to the late time of the night. You raise the open watch slowly to your ear, closing your eyes for just a moment to focus entirely on the sound. Beneath the heavy silver casing, you can hear the tiny, intricate, incredibly complex mechanical heart of the watch beating with absolute precision. Tick, 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 tick. It is a rapid, delicate, mesmerizing sound, a tiny universe of gears and springs working in perfect, unbroken harmony. You lower the watch, holding it gently between your hands. You pinch the knurled crown tightly between your right thumb and forefinger. With a slow, deliberate motion, you begin to turn the crown, winding the mainspring to ensure the watch will run faithfully through the long night. The winding mechanism makes a wonderful, slightly gritty, clicking sound. You can physically feel the tension building within the tiny springs, a perfect, tightening resistance that pushes back gently against your fingers. You turn the crown 3, 4, 5 times, moving slowly, feeling the coiled energy storing itself deep within the silver case. When you feel the tension reach its perfect peak, you stop. You press the silver cover back down. It meets the casing with a soft, incredibly satisfying snick, sealing the delicate mechanism safely inside once more. You step toward the very head of the sleeping berth, where a tiny, impeccably polished mahogany bedside table is built directly into the panelled wall. The surface of the wood is so deeply polished that it reflects the amber light like a dark, still pool of water. You lower your hand, moving incredibly slowly, and gently lay the heavy silver pocket watch flat upon the wooden surface. The metal makes a dull, solid, heavy clink as it meets the mahogany. It is a sound of absolute permanence. You then use your fingertips to carefully arrange the long silver chain, laying it out beside the watch in a neat, graceful, overlapping coil. In the profound, insulated quiet of the compartment, leaning in close to the table, you can still faintly hear the rapid, delicate ticking of the watch through the heavy silver case. And then, you notice something truly beautiful. The tiny, rapid, mechanical heartbeat of the pocket watch is blending flawlessly with the massive, heavy, rhythmic pulsing of the train wheels on the tracks far below. Tick, 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 click-clack, tick, 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 click-clack. The tiny, fragile mechanism of time and the massive, unstoppable machinery of the journey are singing together in perfect, hypnotic synchronization. The sound washes over you, lulling your mind into a state of deep, mesmerized tranquility. Your attention now turns entirely to the sleeping berth itself, the very centerpiece of your nighttime sanctuary. The bed is built securely into the rich mahogany paneling, a perfectly rectangular, deeply inviting haven of comfort that seems to promise an endless, unbroken sleep. The berth was meticulously prepared earlier in the evening by the train's porter, but there is a deeply ingrained, comforting human instinct to touch, to smooth, and to claim a sleeping space before finally surrendering to it. Resting at the foot of the bed is a massive, incredibly thick, dark wool blanket. It has been folded down at a perfect, crisp geometric angle, creating a sharp, inviting contrast that reveals the brilliant, starched white of the cotton sheets beneath. You step up to the edge of the berth. The gentle heat radiating from the iron steam pipe near the floor wraps warmly around your ankles, contrasting beautifully with the cool, visual crispness of the pristine white bedding. You slowly extend both of your arms, reaching out over the expanse of the mattress, and place the palms of your hands flat down upon the surface of the top sheet. The cotton is of an incredibly high quality, woven so tightly that it feels almost completely smooth to the touch. It has been heavily starched and perfectly ironed, giving the fabric a beautiful, rigid, crisp structure. As you press your warm hands down against the cool cotton, it yields slightly, sinking into the plush, heavy mattress beneath. You begin to move your hands slowly, deliberately, across the surface of the bed. You start from the very center of the berth, pressing your palms flat and slide them smoothly outward toward the edges, sweeping away invisible wrinkles. As your hands glide over the fabric, the starched cotton creates a wonderfully dry, crisp, whispering rustle. It is a remarkably clean, tactile sound, the sound of fresh linens, waiting to embrace you. You sweep your hands to the left, feeling the friction of the fabric against your skin. Swish, you bring your hands back to the center and sweep them slowly to the right. Swish, the repetitive, gliding motion of your hands, the crisp sound of the cotton, and the gentle rocking sway of the train all combine into a perfectly hypnotic rhythm. With every slow pass of your hands, the sheets seem to become smoother, more inviting, more perfectly arranged, and as the friction of your hands warms the surface of the cotton ever so slightly, the fabric releases another faint, clean, incredibly soothing wave of that powdery lavender scent lingering from the meticulous laundering process. It rises up to meet you, mingling with the warm mahogany and the dry steam heat, filling your senses with absolute purity and peace. Having smoothed the sheets to absolute perfection, you shift your gaze to the very head of the berth. Resting there, nestled perfectly against the dark wood paneling, are two massive, incredibly plump, heavy pillows. They are encased in the same brilliant, crisp white cotton as the sheets, their edges perfectly squared and neat. You reach down and place your hands on either side of the first pillow. You slide your fingers underneath it and lift. The pillow is surprisingly, wonderfully heavy. It is completely stuffed, bursting with the finest, densest, softest goose down. The weight of the feathers causes the pillow to slump luxuriously over your hands, conforming instantly to your grip. You lift it entirely clear of the mattress, holding it securely by the edges. You raise it slightly and give it one long, slow, firm shake. The sound it makes is incredible. It is a soft, deeply muffled, rustling shifting of 1,000 tiny feathers slide past one another, readjusting their weight inside the crisp cotton casing. It sounds like a sudden, soft intake of breath. You bring your hands to the sides of the pillow and press inward, fluffing the heavy mass of feathers. You watch as the dense down swells and puffs out, expanding beautifully, returning perfectly to its immense, cloud-like shape. The pillow seems to hold the very promise of deep, restorative rest within its thick, heavy seams. You lower it slowly back down to the mattress. It settles onto the crisp sheets with a wonderfully soft, muffled hump resting perfectly in place. You turn to the second pillow, entirely unhurried, perfectly content to repeat the slow, deliberate process all over again. You slide your hands beneath the crisp white cotton casing, feeling the heavy, dense weight of the goose down settling into your palms. You lift it slowly, the fabric making that soft, whispering rustle. You hold it firmly and give it a gentle, rhythmic shake, listening to the muffled shifting of the feathers within. You press your hands into the sides, fluffing the down, working your fingers gently into the corners until the pillow is perfectly, impossibly plump. You lower it with absolute care, placing it exactly beside the first. The two pristine white pillows now rest together at the head of the bed, a soft, inviting landscape of pure comfort, contrasting brilliantly with the deep, dark, polished mahogany walls that surround them. You take a slow half-step backward, retreating slightly onto the thick woolen carpet, and let your hands fall loosely to your sides. You simply stand there, absorbing the scene before you. The slow, methodical routine of unpacking is entirely complete. The heavy leather valise sits open and relaxed on the bench. The thick, navy blue wool sweater is draped perfectly over the back of the mahogany chair, casting deep, soft shadows in the amber light. The solid silver pocket watch rests gleaming on the tiny bedside table, its delicate, precise ticking blending seamlessly with the heavy, rhythmic clatter of the train tracks, and the sleeping berth with its brilliantly white, perfectly smoothed sheets and incredibly plump, heavy feather pillows waits patiently to receive you. The magnificent steam engine far ahead lets out another long, low, distant whistle, the sound muffled entirely by the heavy velvet curtains and the thick, insulated walls. The train leans gently, gracefully into another long, sweeping curve, rocking the entire cabin like a massive, wooden cradle. You take a slow, deep breath, drawing the scent of lavender and mahogany deep into your lungs, and as you exhale, a wave of profound, absolute, heavy peace settles permanently into your bones. The room is ready, the night is waiting, and you are perfectly, completely safe. There is a profound, almost overwhelming beauty in that quiet realization of absolute readiness. You simply stand there in the center of your beautifully appointed private compartment, allowing the deep, heavy peace of the space to fully settle into the marrow of your bones. The waking hours of the day have officially, gently concluded. There is not a single obligation left to fulfill, not a single decision left to be made, and not a single modern demand that can reach you here, locked safely away in this travelling sanctuary of polished mahogany and thick velvet. The meticulous, deliberate routine of preparing your space for the night has been completed to perfection. The heavy leather valise rests open. Your garments are neatly arranged. The silver pocket watch ticks faithfully on the bedside table, and the brilliant, crisp, white sheets of your sleeping berth are smoothed and waiting. All that remains now is the final, incredibly simple act of surrendering to the dark. You turn your body incredibly slowly, your movements completely fluid and unhurried, perfectly attuned to the gentle, cradle-like swaying of the train car as it glides steadily over the heavy steel tracks. You shift your weight from one foot to the other, your footsteps entirely silenced by the thick, dense pile of the dark woolen carpet beneath you. You take one slow step, and then another, moving away from the inviting expanse of the sleeping berth, walking back toward the heavy, solid wood door that separates your private haven from the quiet, empty corridor of the sleeping car. Mounted on the rich, dark mahogany paneling, just beside the heavy brass bolt of the door, is the main light switch for the compartment. It is not the flat, silent plastic switch of the modern era, but a beautiful, substantial piece of early 20th century hardware. The mechanism is housed entirely behind a thick, beautifully cast rectangular plate of solid brass, secured to the wood by 4 tiny, perfectly flat-headed brass screws. Protruding from the very center of this plate is a small, elegantly shaped brass toggle. You raise your hand slowly through the warm, wonderful air of the cabin. The air is still heavily scented with that deeply comforting, nostalgic blend of aged wood, polished metal, clean lavender soap, and the dry, soothing heat radiating from the iron steam pipe near the floor. You extend your arm and press the soft pad of your index finger against the cool, smooth surface of the brass toggle. Even after all these years of use, the metal remains perfectly solid, perfectly secure. You can feel the heavy mechanical tension resting quietly behind the switch, a tiny coiled spring waiting for your command. You pause for just a single quiet moment, taking one last look at your surroundings, bathed in the warm golden amber glow of the tulip wall sconce. The light makes the mahogany walls look like pools of dark, liquid honey, casting soft, rich shadows around the deep pleats of the cherry-red velvet curtains. The space is a glowing, warm jewel box moving bravely through the freezing, endless wilderness of the winter night. With a slow, deliberate application of pressure, you push the brass toggle downward. The resistance of the internal spring holds firm for just a fraction of a second before giving way completely. Clack, the sound of the switch, is incredibly satisfying. It is a heavy, decisive, metallic sound that echoes briefly in the quiet, insulated space of the room. It is the definitive punctuation mark at the very end of your long day, and in the exact fraction of a second that the sound rings out, the warm amber light of the tulip sconce instantly vanishes. The transition is immediate, profound, and utterly breathtaking. You are not suddenly plunged into a terrifying, blinding darkness. Instead, it feels as though a thick, heavy, incredibly soft blanket of velvet has been gently dropped over the entire compartment. Your eyes, which had grown so accustomed to the warm, glowing filaments of the bulb, take a long, slow moment to adjust to the sudden absence of artificial illumination. For the first few heartbeats, all you can see is the deep, enveloping blackness, and your other senses immediately rise up to fill the void. The rhythmic, hypnotic sound of the train seems to instantly double in volume and richness. The heavy, metallic click-clack, click-clack of the iron wheels rolling endlessly over the steel tracks becomes a massive, living heartbeat that completely fills the small room. You can feel the powerful vibration of the journey, travelling up through the floorboards, singing through your heavy woolen socks and humming gently in the bones of your legs. You can hear the incredibly faint, delicate, rapid tick-tick-tick-tick of the solid silver pocket watch resting on the mahogany bedside table, standing bravely against the massive, roaring machinery of the train. You can hear the incredibly subtle, slow hiss of the invisible steam rushing through the iron pipe near the baseboards, maintaining the wonderful, dry heat that keeps the bitter winter cold safely at bay. And then, Ever so slowly, your eyes begin to adjust to the natural atmosphere of the night. As the afterimage of the amber light gradually fades from your retinas, you begin to realize that the compartment is not entirely dark at all. When you pulled the heavy, cherry red velvet curtains shut earlier, you drew them together as tightly as possible. But velvet is a thick, substantial fabric that resists a perfect, seamless closure. Where the two massive, heavy panels of fabric meet, in the exact center of the window, there remains a tiny, almost imperceptible gap. It is a vertical opening no wider than the edge of a silver coin, running all the way from the brass rail at the top of the window, down to the thick, heavy hem resting just above the carpet. And through that microscopic, razor-thin opening, the true light of the winter night is pouring into your private sanctuary. It is the brilliant, ethereal, untouched light of a perfectly full, incredibly bright winter moon, reflecting off 10,000 acres of pristine, undisturbed snow. This light is entirely different from the warm, golden, forgiving amber of the wall sconce. This light is completely cool, deeply silver, and unimaginably pure. It cuts through the razor-thin gap in the heavy velvet curtains like a perfectly focused, brilliant silver blade, slicing smoothly through the warm, dark air of the cabin. You stand perfectly still in the shadows and watch this solitary beam of moonlight. Because the air inside the compartment is wonderfully warm and gently moving, stirred by the subtle heat rising from the steam pipes, millions of tiny, microscopic dust motes are caught dancing lazily within the silver beam. They drift and swirl in absolute silence, floating peacefully in the sharp, bright light like a tiny, self-contained galaxy of incredibly slow-moving stars. The silver beam travels silently across the small space of the cabin, tracing a perfectly straight line through the darkness, until it finally lands upon the sleeping berth. It strikes the freshly pressed, perfectly smoothed, brilliantly white-starched cotton sheets that you prepared just moments ago. The effect is simply mesmerizing. The pristine white cotton seems to capture the moonlight, absorbing the silver brilliance and radiating it softly back into the room. The sheets actually appear to glow in the deep, velvety darkness, a cool, incredibly inviting rectangle of pure, untouched light waiting to cradle you through the night. Where the silver light brushes against the massive, plump, heavy feather pillows at the head of the bed, it highlights the soft, pillowy curves of the down, creating deep, charcoal grey shadows in the creases of the crisp fabric. As the massive steam train navigates the subtle, unending curves of the ancient railway line, slowly banking left and then gently banking right, the angle of the train car constantly, minutely shifts in relation to the moon, hanging high and motionless in the frozen sky outside. And because of this constant, graceful shifting, the single beam of silver moonlight is never perfectly still. It travels incredibly slowly, back and forth across the surface of the bed, a silent, ghostly pendulum keeping the slow, perfect time of the journey. As the beam moves, the ambient, reflected light in the compartment gently swells and fades, breathing life into the dark mahogany walls. The polished wood paneling catches the faint, stray reflections of the silver light, offering up incredibly dim, ghostly glints of its rich grain before fading entirely back into the deep, absolute shadows. You raise your eyes slowly toward the curved ceiling of the Pullman compartment. Up there, in the deepest recesses of the room where the warm air naturally gathers, the shadows are incredibly thick, possessing a heavy, almost liquid quality. They are not stagnant, they are alive, moving and shifting in perfect synchronization with the rhythmic swaying of the carriage. They roll across the beautifully crafted, curved wooden beams of the ceiling, like slow, heavy waves on a dark, calm ocean. Watching these deep, velvety shadows slide back and forth, back and forth, back and forth is a profoundly hypnotic experience. It is a visual manifestation of the incredibly soothing, cradle-like rocking motion that your body is currently feeling. The rhythmic swaying of the shadows, combined with the heavy, unyielding, repetitive click-clack of the tracks beneath you, begins to weave a powerful, deeply mesmerizing spell over your mind. The last, lingering threads of wakefulness are slowly, systematically being unspooled and drawn away into the dark. Suddenly, rising up above the steady, rhythmic clatter of the iron wheels, another sound reaches your ears. It begins as an incredibly low, distant vibration, a deep, resonant hum that seems to travel backward through the very steel spine of the train itself. And then, it blossoms into the night air. It is the magnificent, deeply mournful, unimaginably powerful wail of the train's massive steam whistle. The engineer, seated in the glowing, incredibly hot, coal-fired cab miles ahead at the very front of the line, has pulled the heavy cord, releasing a massive blast of pressurized steam straight into the freezing, empty atmosphere of the winter night. Ooh. The sound is incredibly long, drawn out with a slow, heavy, aching beauty. Because you are perfectly insulated within the thick, heavy wooden walls of your compartment, and because the window is sealed entirely tight and heavily muffled by the dense velvet curtains, the sheer, deafening volume of the whistle is completely stripped away before it ever reaches you. What remains is a soft, deeply muffled, hauntingly beautiful sigh. It sounds like the voice of some massive, benevolent, ancient creature calling out to the empty, snow-covered world, announcing your safe and steady passage through the frozen dark. You can hear the echo of the great whistle bouncing off the unseen landscape outside. The train must be crossing through a massive, entirely empty winter valley, surrounded by towering, unseen mountains, because the echo of the whistle rolls on, returning fainter and fainter, bouncing softly between the distant peaks before finally dissolving completely into the endless, silent snow. Listening to that solitary, fading echo, you are struck by a sudden, profound realization of exactly where you are and exactly what is happening in this incredibly perfect moment. You are entirely alone, sealed inside a tiny, brilliantly warm, moving wooden room, surrounded by an unimaginably vast, freezing, completely uninhabited wilderness. There are no towns out there. There are no roads. There are no people. There is nothing but deep, freezing snow, ancient, towering pine trees, and the cold, bright light of the moon. And yet, surrounded by all of this immense, intimidating, freezing emptiness, you do not feel even the slightest hint of fear, or isolation, or vulnerability. Instead, you feel an overwhelming, almost indescribable sense of absolute safety. The contrast between the deadly cold of the world outside the glass and the perfectly engineered, absolute warmth of the space you inhabit creates a profound feeling of being entirely protected. The train is a fortress of warmth and light, a heavy, unstoppable sanctuary, carving a perfectly safe path through an otherwise impassable world. There is a very specific, unique, and deeply profound kind of peace to be found in the act of being in transit, particularly in this slow, incredibly deliberate manner. In our ordinary, daily lives, we are constantly burdened by the immense, exhausting necessity of navigation. We must constantly steer our own ships. We must choose the direction, provide the momentum, constantly adjust our course, and remain forever vigilant against the obstacles in our path. We are always driving, always pushing, always forcing our way forward through the heavy, resisting current of time and responsibility. It is a tremendously exhausting way to live, this constant state of having to be entirely in charge of your own forward motion. But here, tonight, on this magnificent, heavy steam train, that immense, exhausting burden has been entirely lifted from your shoulders. You have stepped aboard, you have closed your heavy wooden door, and you have completely, utterly surrendered control to the journey. Miles ahead of you, at the very front of this long chain of carriages, a massive, incredibly complex fire-breathing engine is doing all of the unimaginable work. The heavy steel boiler is raging with heat. Massive iron pistons are driving forward and backward with thousands of pounds of pressure, and the steel wheels are fiercely gripping the iron tracks, pulling thousands of tons of wood and metal forward through the dark. The engine is working tirelessly, relentlessly, burning coal and boiling water, fighting against the immense weight of the train and the biting friction of the cold night air. And it is doing all of that incredible, violent, roaring labour simply so that you can exist back here, in this quiet, perfectly dark, perfectly still room, doing absolutely nothing at all. You are entirely free from the responsibility of movement. You do not need to choose the path, for the heavy steel tracks were laid down decades ago, their route fixed permanently into the earth. You do not need to provide the power, for the steam and the fire are handling that with absolute, unwavering certainty. You are experiencing the ultimate, most beautiful paradox of travel. You are moving forward through time and space at a tremendous, unstoppable speed, while simultaneously remaining entirely, perfectly, beautifully still. You are rushing headlong into the new day, into the future, and yet you do not have to lift a single finger to get there. You are simply being carried. You are simply a passenger. It is this profound, absolute surrender of control that allows the mind to truly, finally rest. When you realize that you cannot steer, that you cannot change the speed, and that you cannot alter the destination, the frantic, anxious, planning part of your mind finally realizes that its services are no longer required. It slowly powers down, letting go of all its tightly held worries and calculations. There is simply no point in worrying about the journey when the journey is completely out of your hands. You are allowed to just exist. You are allowed to simply be held by the heavy, swaying cradle of the train carriage. The profound comfort of this realization washes over you like a wave of warm, heavy water. It soaks deeply into your muscles, completely releasing any tiny, stubborn knots of tension that had managed to hide in your shoulders or your jaw. Your entire body feels incredibly heavy, blissfully lethargic, entirely ready to succumb to the overwhelming pull of sleep. The rhythm of the iron wheels on the tracks, click-clack, 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 is no longer just a sound. It is a physical feeling, a slow, continuous massage that travels up through the floorboards and vibrates softly in your chest. It is a mantra, repeating endlessly in the dark, reminding you with every single strike of the rail that you are moving forward, that you are perfectly safe, and that all is incredibly, wonderfully well. You stand there in the dark for a few moments longer, simply breathing in the warm, dry, lavender-scented air, listening to the magnificent symphony of the train, the steady ticking of the solid silver pocket watch, the slow, rhythmic hiss of the steam expanding in the heavy iron pipe near the floor, the muffled, continuous, beautiful roar of the wheels beneath you, the slow, hypnotic shifting of the velvety shadows across the curved ceiling, the bright silver blade of moonlight sweeping slowly, lazily across the glowing white sheets of the sleeping berth. It is a perfect, isolated universe of absolute tranquility, suspended entirely between the past and the future, moving gracefully through a frozen, sleeping world, with a final, deep, beautifully slow exhalation that seems to empty your lungs of the very last remnants of waking thought. You allow your heavy, relaxed limbs to carry you forward. You take a slow, silent step away from the heavy mahogany door, moving smoothly and effortlessly back toward the very center of the small cabin. Your eyes are completely adjusted to the silver and charcoal landscape of the room now, navigating the deep shadows with absolute, instinctual ease. The bed is waiting for you, practically glowing in the moonlight, its massive feather pillows plumped and ready, its thick woolen blankets turned down to perfectly reveal the crisp, pristine cotton sheets. The journey is already well underway. The heavy lifting is being handled by the engine far ahead. The world outside is safely locked away behind thick glass and heavy velvet. There is absolutely nothing left for you to do now, nothing left to think about, nothing left to worry over. The magnificent, unstoppable momentum of the train has completely taken over, and all that is left for you to do is simply lie down, close your eyes, and allow yourself to be carried away into the deep, welcoming embrace of the night. You take a final, incredibly slow step across the thick, dark woolen carpet, arriving entirely at the edge of the beautifully prepared sleeping berth. The space before you is a masterpiece of quiet, insulated comfort, waiting patiently to receive the full weight of your tired body. The pristine, starched white cotton sheets practically glow in the dim, silver illumination of the moon, offering a cool, crisp invitation that contrasts perfectly with the deep, warm, velvety shadows of the mahogany paneling surrounding the bed. You turn your body ever so slightly, allowing the gentle, constant, cradle-like sway of the heavy train car to naturally guide your movements. You reach out with one hand, resting your palm against the incredibly smooth, polished surface of the wooden wall for just a moment of balance, and you slowly lower yourself down to sit upon the very edge of the mattress. The immediate sensation is one of profound, luxurious support. The berth is constructed with thick, heavy steel springs and layered with dense, tightly packed natural fibers, creating a surface that is wonderfully firm, yet deeply forgiving. As you settle your weight onto the edge of the bed, you feel the mattress yield smoothly, compressing softly beneath you with a faint, beautifully muffled sigh of displaced air. The heavy, perfectly pressed white cotton of the fitted sheet is cool against the back of your legs for just a fraction of a second before the natural warmth of the cabin, and the heat radiating from your own body completely neutralizes the chill. You sit there for a long, quiet moment, your feet still resting flat upon the thick woolen carpet, your hands resting softly in your lap. You are simply allowing your body to adjust to this new, lower vantage point. From here, the gentle, hypnotic rocking of the train feels even more pronounced, a deeply soothing, rhythmic side-to-side motion that travels up through the floorboards, through the heavy frame of the berth, and directly into the base of your spine. With a slow, fluid, entirely unhurried motion, you lift your legs from the floor, swinging them gracefully up and onto the mattress. You pivot your body, aligning yourself with the long, inviting expanse of the bed, and slide smoothly backward, slipping beneath the heavy, turned-down layers of the bedding. As your legs slide between the crisp, brilliantly white cotton sheets, the fabric creates a wonderful, dry, whispering rustle. Swish, swish. It is the sound of absolute cleanliness, the sound of freshly laundered linens that have been perfectly stretched and prepared for rest. The sheets envelop you, creating an immediate, wonderfully secure cocoon that separates you entirely from the open air of the cabin. You gently lower your upper body backward, allowing your spine to sink down into the deep, supportive structure of the mattress. And then, your head meets the immense, incredibly plump, heavy feather pillows that you prepared earlier. The sensation is truly magnificent. The massive volume of dense, soft goose down does not simply support your head, it completely swallows it, rising up gently on all sides to cradle your neck and your ears in a thick, completely weightless embrace. As your head sinks deeply into the center of the pillow, the thousands of tiny feathers shift and adjust with a soft, muffled rustle, contouring perfectly to the exact shape of your body. The crisp, white cotton casing of the pillow feels wonderfully smooth and clean against your cheek. The very moment your head sinks fully into the heavy down of the pillow, the entire acoustic landscape of the compartment beautifully transforms. The ambient sounds of the room, the soft, distant hiss of the steam pipe, the faint, microscopic ticking of the silver pocket watch on the bedside table, are instantly heavily muffled, pushed far away into the distant background. In their place, a new, incredibly deep, incredibly soothing sound rises to the surface, because your ear is now resting directly against the mattress, which is built firmly into the heavy wooden structure of the train car. The mechanical rhythm of the journey is transferred directly into your bones. The heavy, relentless click-clack of the massive iron wheels rolling over the long steel tracks is no longer just a sound travelling through the air. It has become a deep, resonant, bass-heavy vibration. It feels like a massive, incredibly slow, incredibly powerful mechanical heartbeat, thrumming steadily, flawlessly, eternally through the very foundation of the bed. It is the pulse of the journey, a physical, constant reassurance that the magnificent engine far ahead is still pulling you safely, powerfully through the freezing winter night. You reach down with both of your hands, your fingers finding the thick, beautifully bound edge of the massive dark wool blanket that rests folded across your waist. You grip the heavy fabric lightly, feeling the coarse, wonderful, natural texture of the spun wool beneath your fingertips. With a slow, smooth, deliberate pull, you draw the heavy blanket upward, sliding it over your chest, past your shoulders, bringing it all the way up to rest softly just beneath your chin. The weight of this blanket is absolutely extraordinary. It is incredibly thick, densely woven to provide absolute protection against the deepest winter cold. As it settles over you, it acts as a massive, heavy, beautifully warm shield. It presses down upon your body with a gentle, continuous, perfectly distributed weight, a sensation of deep pressure that instantly, miraculously calms the nervous system. The heavy wool completely seals the edges of the bed, trapping the warm air inside your cocoon, ensuring that not even the slightest hint of a draft can reach you. Lying perfectly flat now, entirely enveloped in the crisp cotton and the heavy wool, your body finds a state of absolute, unbreakable equilibrium. The deep, biting chill radiating from the thick glass of the window, the soft, dry warmth rising from the iron steam pipe near the floor, and the heavy, insulated heat of your own body, wrapped in blankets, all balance perfectly against one another. You are not too warm, you are not too cool. You are suspended in a state of perfect, neutral comfort, where the physical boundaries of your body seem to gently dissolve into the softness of the bed. The train leans gracefully into another, incredibly long, incredibly slow curve, navigating the invisible geography of the snow-covered valley outside. As the massive carriages bank softly to the side, you feel your entire body shift ever so slightly, within the heavy cocoon of the blankets, rolling gently with the motion of the train. It is the feeling of being entirely, perfectly held. You are a child in a massive, rolling, wooden cradle, being rocked with an endless, steady, completely unwavering rhythm. Side to side, back and forth, click-clack, click-clack. The motion is so deeply ingrained in your body now that, if the train were to suddenly stop, the stillness would feel entirely unnatural. But the train does not stop. It rolls endlessly on, carving its safe, brilliant path through the dark, frozen wilderness, leaving you with absolutely nothing to do but close your tired eyes and surrender. As your heavy, velvet-soft eyelids finally flutter shut, blocking out the silver beam of the moonlight and the deep, moving shadows on the mahogany ceiling, the visual world completely disappears. You are left with only the profound, physical sensations of comfort. The heavy weight of the wool across your chest, the incredibly soft, yielding embrace of the feather pillow against your cheek, the faint, beautiful, lingering scent of lavender soap and old polished wood, and the deep, slow, massive heartbeat of the train, humming endlessly through the mattress, carrying you softly, steadily, inevitably down into the deep, quiet waters of sleep. And as that solitary traveller drifts away, safely enclosed in their warm wooden sanctuary, rolling endlessly through the snow-covered night of 1924, I want you, my friend, to gently bring your awareness back to your own space. Slowly, beautifully, let the heavy, rhythmic clatter of the iron train tracks begin to soften in your mind. Let the deep, resonant click-clack, click-clack slowly dissolve, transforming smoothly and perfectly into the quiet, steady, unbroken rhythm of your own breathing. Hello again, friend. You have journeyed so far tonight, traveling back through the long decades, stepping away from the rush and the noise of your modern life. You have witnessed the profound, quiet beauty of a simpler time, a time when the world moved a little slower, when the night was a little darker, and when the simple act of resting was treated with a deep, deliberate reverence. But as you lie here now, in the absolute safety and comfort of your own bed, I want you to realize something truly wonderful. The profound, heavy peace that you felt inside that moving train compartment, that incredible sense of safety, that total surrender to the quiet of the night, that does not belong exclusively to the past. It belongs to you, right now, in this exact moment, because despite all the years that separate us from that snowy night in 1924, despite all the sweeping changes in our world, and all the massive, complicated machinery of our modern lives, the fundamental, beautiful human need for rest has never changed. We are all, in our own way, simply passengers on a long, continuous journey. We all carry the heavy weight of our responsibilities through the daylight hours. We all navigate the complex, demanding tracks of our waking lives. And when the sun finally sets, and the deep, quiet shadows of the evening roll in, we all seek the exact same things. We seek the safety of a locked door. We seek the heavy, comforting weight of a warm blanket. We seek a quiet space where we no longer have to steer, where we no longer have to navigate, where we can simply lay our burdens down and be held by the dark. Your bed, right now, is your sanctuary. It is your perfectly insulated, entirely private compartment, traveling safely through the dark hours of the night. The heavy lifting of the day is completely over. The massive engine of your waking life has been quietly shut down. The fires banked, the steam released. There is nowhere else you need to be tonight. There is not a single task left for you to accomplish. Not a single problem left for you to solve. Not a single worry that needs your attention before the morning light. The journey of this day is officially, beautifully complete. You have arrived at the station of your rest, and all that is required of you now is to simply let go. Let us take a long, slow, incredibly deep breath together, matching the profound, unbroken rhythm of that sleeping passenger. I want you to draw the quiet air of your room in through your nose, pulling it deeply into the very bottom of your lungs. Breathe in, slowly, steadily, feeling your chest expand, feeling the heavy blankets rise gently as you create space within your body for absolute peace. Hold that breath for just a soft, still moment at the very top, letting the quiet of the night settle deeply into your blood. And now exhale, release the breath with a long, slow, completely unhurried sigh. Let the air leave your body, and as it goes, imagine every last, lingering ounce of tension, every tiny fragment of worry, every leftover thought from the busy day, flowing out with it, dissolving entirely into the dark, empty air of your room. Let us do that again, moving even slower this time, sinking even deeper into the comfort of your mattress. Breathe in, pulling the absolute stillness of the night deep into your center. Notice how incredibly effortless it is simply to breathe. Notice how your body knows exactly what to do, how it naturally seeks this quiet, restorative rhythm without you ever having to ask. Hold that gentle stillness and exhale. Let the breath fall away, feeling your shoulders drop, feeling your spine melt completely into the soft, welcoming support beneath you. You are so incredibly heavy. You are so perfectly safe. Now, I want you to bring your attention down to the very tips of your toes. In the quiet darkness of your room, I want you to consciously, deliberately release them. Let your toes fall completely loose. Let the arches of your feet soften, releasing all the tension they have carried from walking, standing, and moving through your day. Let this deep, heavy, wonderful relaxation flow slowly upward, moving like a warm, thick, golden light into your ankles. Feel your ankles unlock, completely letting go of their supportive role. Feel the heavy, relaxing warmth travel smoothly up into your calves. Your calves have worked so hard to carry you forward today. Thank them for their endless effort and give them absolute permission to rest. Feel the muscles in your lower legs completely melt into the mattress, becoming so incredibly heavy that it feels as though you could not lift them even if you tried. Let the warmth move up, slowly, beautifully, over your knees and into the large, powerful muscles of your thighs. Release any gripping, any holding, any invisible tension hiding there. Let your legs roll slightly outward, falling perfectly into their natural, most comfortable resting state. Feel your hips sink down, dropping a fraction of an inch deeper into the absolute softness of your bed. Your entire lower body is now perfectly still, wonderfully heavy, completely asleep. Allow that heavy, golden warmth to rise smoothly into your lower back, spreading gently across your spine. We carry so much unseen armor in our backs, so much rigidity to protect ourselves from the demands of the world. Let that armor completely dissolve away right now. You do not need it here. You are completely protected by the walls of your room and the quiet of the night. Feel the muscles of your back completely unclench, spreading flat and wide against the mattress, fully supported, entirely safe. Let the warmth wash around to your stomach, softening your center. Feel your abdomen rise and fall with an effortless, gentle rhythm, exactly matching the slow, hypnotic, cradle-like sway of the train we left behind. Rise and fall, in and out, perfectly even, perfectly calm. Let the heavy relaxation travel slowly up into your chest, wrapping around your heart, soothing its rhythm, slowing its beat down to a deep, steady, resting pace. Feel the warmth spread outward from your chest, sweeping across your collarbones and pouring heavily down into your shoulders. Your shoulders have carried the weight of the entire day, the weight of your responsibilities, the weight of your decisions. It is time to let all of that drop. Consciously let your shoulders fall away from your ears, sinking deeply, heavily into the mattress. Feel the tremendous relief of laying that invisible burden down. Let the warm, heavy feeling flow like liquid honey down your arms, passing through your biceps, flowing smoothly over your elbows, and gliding down through your forearms. Let it pool gently in your wrists, before flowing out into the palms of your hands, and all the way to the very tips of your fingers. Let your hands gently uncurl, resting softly by your sides. Your hands do not need to hold on to anything anymore. They do not need to work, to type, to grip, or to carry. They can simply rest, completely open, completely empty, entirely at peace. Your arms are now so wonderfully heavy, anchored safely to the bed, completely asleep. Now, let the deep, soothing warmth rise up through the back of your neck, releasing the tiny, hard-working muscles that support your head. Let your head sink entirely into the incredibly soft, welcoming embrace of your pillow, exactly like the heavy feather pillow on that snowbound train. The pillow rises up to hold you, taking the entire weight of your head so that your neck can completely, finally let go. Let the relaxation flow over your scalp and wash slowly down over your forehead. Smooth away any remaining lines of concentration, any lingering expressions of worry. Let your forehead become perfectly flat, perfectly calm. Feel the heavy warmth pool gently around your eyes. Your eyes have taken in so much today, so much light, so much movement, so much endless information. Give them the profound gift of total darkness. Let your eyelids become incredibly heavy, as thick and dense as the cherry-red velvet curtains we pulled against the winter chill. They are sealed shut, safely locking out the waking world. Let your eyes fall softly back into their sockets, resting completely, gazing inward into the vast, quiet, peaceful space of your own mind. Finally, let the relaxation drift slowly down into your jaw. We hold so many unspoken words, so much invisible stress in the tight clenching of our jaw. Consciously, deliberately, let it go. Create a tiny, wonderful space between your upper and lower teeth. Let your jaw drop perfectly slack. Let your tongue rest softly, heavily against the bottom of your mouth. Feel the entire structure of your face completely soften, melting away into absolute, perfect tranquility. Your entire body is now perfectly still, perfectly relaxed, wonderfully, incredibly heavy. You are floating in a state of absolute equilibrium, exactly like that sleeping passenger. You are completely safe, surrounded by the quiet walls of your home, insulated entirely from the rushing world outside. The night is a massive, quiet, beautiful space, and it belongs entirely to you. There is nothing left to wait for. There is nothing left to do. In your mind's eye, I want you to picture that magnificent steam train one last time. Picture it from far away, rolling slowly, steadily, powerfully through the deep frozen valley. The snow is falling gently, perfectly, silent, covering the ancient pine trees and the long steel tracks in a thick, brilliant blanket of white. The moon hangs high and bright in the clear, freezing sky, casting a beautiful silver light over the sleeping world. The train is a solitary, glowing line of warmth, a safe, unstoppable sanctuary carrying its passengers peacefully through the dark. You can barely hear it now. The massive, roaring whistle is entirely silent. The heavy, rhythmic clatter of the iron wheels has faded away to an incredibly soft, distant, mechanical heartbeat. Click-clack, click-clack, click-clack. It is fading further and further away, rolling gently over the horizon, disappearing entirely into the beautiful, silent, endless snow. And as the train finally fades completely from view, taking the very last remnants of the waking world with it, you are left with nothing but the profound, unbroken quiet of your own room. You are left with the gentle, rhythmic rise and fall of your own breath. You are left with the deep, heavy, wonderful comfort of your own bed. You are perfectly ready. You are perfectly safe. It is time now to let go entirely. It is time to surrender completely to the dark, comforting embrace of the night. It is time to sleep. Sleep well, my friend. Good night.